Gustavo, thank you so much for joining us here on Perspective Shift. It is Gustavo Ferman is our guest today. Am I saying that right, Gustavo?
Yes, you're saying it perfectly. Yes, Ferman. In
Ferman, thank you.
Spanish is Ferman,
Oh, okay, there we
Ferman.
go.
but English, yes, Ferman.
Perfect.
Ferman. All right.
Well,
So
we're excited to have you on today's show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it so much.
So we're going to dive right in if that's good with you.
I love it. I love to just dive in and just start swimming.
Perfect. Perfect. So, Gustavo, thank you for tuning in and thank you for joining us on Perspective Shift. Again, we're here with Gustavo Ferman. And so, Gustavo has his own podcast. Frank and I have each been featured on Gustavo's podcast. Gustavo, why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast and a little bit of background on you for the audience?
Okay, yes. First of all, thank you again for having me. I'm actually one of your fans,
yeah.
Love it.
and I started listening to your podcast many like about a year and a half ago,
Okay.
Nice.
and I kept talking to all my guy friends about you guys,
Oh, I love it.
because I love your podcast and your interaction and your message. So thank you for doing that as well. Um, yeah, my podcast is my new baby. um, it's just came out of the idea of I'm a dancer. I'm a professional choreographer, dancer, actor, and I've always been in the flow when it comes to my dancing and my profession. I feel like when when I'm in that flow where my inner being is taking me, and when I'm just kind of in the ease of the path, doing what I'm doing, what I get excited about what I'm doing when I'm on stage or teaching or choreographing, and I feel like I'm in the flow, and everything just kind of works so nicely. And I'm thinking that why is that we can really apply that in a regular life? I feel it in my dancing, I feel it in my career, but and this so then of course I started reading and studying the law of attraction and energy and everything, and I came up with into the flow. Like into the flow should be something that we are connected every day in our lives, we should be in the flow. And so I decided, yeah, I want to do a podcast. I want to talk about this stuff because it's important. This is exciting. And so I decided to come up with the name Into the Flow, and I just did it.
Love
I
it.
came in my room one time, and I'm like, I plan to do this show for a while, and this is a new area for me getting into podcasts and all that. I have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of dancing, instructing, and fun stuff, but I never really have done. I've done motivational speaking and everything, but all to do with my dancing and my performing, but never just sit down and talk.
Yep. Yep.
And so it's a new thing. So I'm like, hmm. Well, would people understand because I do have still an accent, right? So I'm like, do people understand what I'm gonna? Are they gonna understand what I'm saying?
They definitely understand you.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
because I get excited sometimes and I talk really fast and my hands move and I'm like, and you know what? No, I've been doing this for a long time. Like I know how to. When I'm acting, it's kind of different because I have a script and it's like a different. But I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be me, you know. But I wasn't really ready. Like, and I think I talked to you guys about it in my podcast where when if sometimes you're not really ready, you don't have to push it. If you don't force it, you just let it happen. And then I came into my room one day and I'm like, I'm excited to talk today. I'm just gonna start just talking. And I did my first podcast and a lot of people loved it. That
That's
was like,
Yeah.
yeah, the first one. And
Do
so
you
from
remember
then
what you
on,
do you remember what you talked about on that first episode?
yeah, I
Was it?
talked about what Into the Flow means to me,
Love it.
and basically is what the show is about and what my plan was to do the show. And I just started just going, it's like diarrhea of the mouth.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's the very
And,
essence of flow. So, yeah.
Exactly.
yeah, I was in it, and it just came so good because I have no script, nothing, just kind of all from the heart, and it touched a lot of people. It was just like, wow, that's so cool, you know. And so that was it, Into the Flow. And so now Into the Flow has come into and a lot of different ideas now too, for different projects I have. because I have another trademark. It's called Latin funk dance, which is my trademark dance style, right?
Yeah.
That I created many years ago in Canada, and so it became really popular over there. And so trademark became the Latin funk became my trademark and really like my baby again. And now Into the Flow seems like it's taking the same type of shape and different things, you know. It kind of goes all so well together with my dancing as well, and you know. So yeah, it's fun.
I love that. So wait, where are you from originally? Are you from Canada?
I actually was born in El Salvador, Central America, and I moved when younger, around 14, to San Francisco, California. Grew up there, went to school, college, and then we moved to Canada. My whole family moved to Canada, actually Calgary, which you guys know about some of the cities there.
Yeah.
Calgary is a really cool. Calgary is awesome place. It's really well known for their oil, and it's kind of like say like Dallas, you know, and the
Yeah.
states kind of type of city. And then after that, my whole family came back to California. I stayed behind because I was doing a lot of different musical theater and I was doing a lot of different shows with different groups. And then I decided to move not to California but go to Vancouver, Canada, because I like that place with the ocean, the mountains, and everything. And I'm like, oh, I want to go there. Plus, the film industry is pretty big there as well. So I went there and I came up with over there. I just basically came up with my career. It just blew up. Like Latin funk dance just kind of blew up, and that was. And then after that, being so long, I was there for a long time. And then I just moved to back here, California, San Diego now for about now 2.5 years almost.
All right, nice, man. And here you are.
So it's a little bit of a
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, when you
yeah.
were setting out doing all this stuff, did you like have goals? Are these things you just stepped into and moved in the direction of which the wind blew you or the river pulled you? Is that kind of how you lived your life, or was it because was it goal setting, or was it just like, hey, let's step into this water and see what happens?
Wow, good question because of course in the beginning was my parents, right, moving us. My parents decided to move us out of the El Salvador at the time was going through like a civil war. It was pretty tough.
Yeah.
And even though we did have a good life, it was a middle middle class type of life. Really, my parents worked hard all the time, and us kids were going to private schools and Catholic schools. Well, Catholic school was was a bit tough. I mean, with the
Yeah.
priest,
I
you
went to
know.
Catholic school my whole life. I know
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
you were mentioning that.
Oh yeah.
And so, but there was a war going on, and it was very dangerous, especially for me. I was because I was in my teens, and they were recruiting kids my age, right, to be in the army,
Wow.
and they were actually either go in the army or you go into the other side,
Yeah.
and 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 so there was a lot of times where I had really close encounters with rifles on my head, just because you're standing in the wrong spot or you going through the wrong area or something. So my mom is like, you know what, we gotta get out.
Yeah.
We're going to your aunt and your uncle. They lived in California in San Francisco. We're gonna go with them. So we moved with them for about a couple of years, actually longer than that. And then so that was their decision. It was a good decision because see, my mom was always kind of feeling the guilt of moving us
Yeah.
because they had a good life. She has a good career. Everything was apparently good in a way, but dangerous when it comes to the war. But she felt always guilty. And so I kept saying to her, thank you for actually moving us and giving me an opportunity to have so much options, so many options.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And learning a language and having this amazing freedom to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so that was the first move. Then the second move was because another thing where I guess we comment regarding visa and immigration and all that. We had some issues, and so we had to move to Canada, and that was their decision. I didn't want to leave San Francisco because I was happy there,
Yeah.
but then Calgary was an awesome thing because then I became really into my career. Like I knew I wanted to be a dancer, and I started studying there. I started doing musical theater, and so it's became this great place to learn and to become a performer of all places. Calgary. So then, and after that, my decision was to stay there in Calgary. Then they moved. Then I started deciding for my own life. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay in Calgary. I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna do all. Then I'm going to Vancouver because I like it there. I feel good. It's interesting. I talked to a psychic over the phone in Calgary, and because this guy recommended it to me, and she talked to my guides over the phone, and she said you're going to be successful in the West, and that kind of like I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like I want to move to Vancouver, and she said that I'm like, woo, right on. I just moved right after that.
I love that.
So you're already feeling the urge to move to Vancouver prior to the conversation you had. It was just like a
Yeah,
feeling, right? Yeah.
yeah. I was looking into a lot. I was feeling it. I'm like, I gotta move there. It looks
Yeah.
good. I feel attracted to it. You know what I mean. I
So it was
plus, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So you're being pulled towards this rather than this is what I want to conquer aspect, right?
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was feeling called by it. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
See, I
nice.
yeah,
that. It's cool hearing the story because like originally, these moves started just family moves, etc., things going. And then as you hit Canada, it's like, okay, now I'm established, I'm starting my path, here's my journey. And then to see, I love that you brought up the psychic aspect because it's great. There are some extremely talented individuals out there who have the ability to tap into the field and see these likelihood of probabilities. We have so many probabilities, infinite, probabilities, but there's definitely these like paths carved of like what's likely or not based on our energy in this setting or where we're at any given moment. So to
Yeah.
hear the psychic pick up on that, and reinforce something you're already feeling is very, very cool because you can tell you guys were on the same wavelength.
yes. Oh yeah, that was so cool. That was so cool, and it was so funny because she said, "I see you using your hands a lot." And at the time, I had this pen. I was like playing with the pen,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm like, "Wow! Oh my God! Okay, wow! I can." It was a good conversation. It was like such a eye opener. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to move,"
you could tell
And
she
so
was
I did.
really accurate.
And once I moved, that was another story because I everything just landed perfectly in different ways.
Yep.
You know, I didn't know anybody there, and I just knew one girl. I was kind of dating her. Oh, and my sister was there, but she moved after, and then everything started kind of getting into places. Meeting this person, then I went to do this thing, and it was like just everything started flowing and working out pretty well. I mean, it took time, of course,
Yes.
but
Yeah, but I think that's when you start trusting in the aspect of the universe, how it works in the flow, you don't start questioning everything. I think a lot of people that I've talked to that had troubles in life, they just questioned every move they made. And it's like if the GPS was telling me to make a right, like why am I making a right? The moment I questioned, I passed the right hand turn. So then I'm keep recalculating
Hmm.
and recalibrating and all this other stuff. And that's kind of like what we come to here. It's like we're not really in charge other than the experience of looking at it and adding our frequency into that experience.
Yep.
And that's kind of like the decisions were made by your parents and then you, but the decisions were already kind of laid out
Hmm.
and everything worked out. And that's why trying to figure out life for me, like, what am I going to do next? I'm like, let's see where the wind blows.
Yep.
But I'm responsive when the wind blows. My sails are ready. My boom is ready. Everything is ready for me to go. And that's kind of where people, like, if you trust the system, you'll be wide eyed and moving out the door first thing in the morning, so to speak.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like, we're bringing you on here. And obviously, I felt a sense of that when I was having an interview with you on your podcast. That it's just like, yeah, it wasn't like, a rigid, hard set goal. I must achieve this. I must do that. Um, it was more of like, all right, see what's next.
Well,
Yeah.
and those rigid hard goals that we set, those are often the ones that wake us up The rigid hard goals are, I'm going to go to this university, I'm going to get this job in medicine or engineering or whatnot. I'm going to have the house with the white picket fence. I'm going to be married by this age. It's all these hard stop things that we think
Yeah.
this is going to bring me happiness.
No, those are just
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
and nothing wrong
So
with
it's
those.
cool to hear your
Yeah.
story where you, before you even knew it, you were stepping into this flow, which is very cool to kind of see the history progress over the years, and why I liked asking, like, where you're from, how you traveled, where you moved to. When did you start to get into consciousness, the law of attraction? Let's lead into that, because I feel like that's going to be like a defining moment for you on your journey.
Yeah, that's a good question too, because like you said, like I've always been in the flow. I feel like since a kid, I've been in the flow. I've been connected to source, you know, creating and just feeling so excited about life. And then I would have disappointments, with the influence of the church, influence of the, the school or the
Culture.
society, whatever else, exactly. And so, but I've always been kind of this kid that I wanted to create, that wanted to fly, and so when, like you were saying, we put a lot of goals that have a lot of resistance in our lives. For example, when I was in my the best time in my career, I was just happening. There were times where I was depressed, in the highest moments of my career. How can I be like, how can this happen? Because I wanted more. It wasn't like I shouldn't be on this stage because I am better than that stage. I should be on that stage in Vegas or whatever, you
Yeah.
know. And and my sister kept saying to me, you're doing amazing. Like, stop complaining, stop, and I'd be like, yeah, but and I also would feel like I would do a show, I would do like a week of like events and shows, and on a Sunday I will wake up and I'd be like down because it was over, you know.
Yeah.
And I had that a lot of performers have this where when they finish their, for example, their all the work they've done, the weekend or the concert or something, and they go home and they just like they feel so down. And that will happen to me. And I mean, like, I should, at that moment, I should be just enjoying it. I should be so appreciative of the whole week. I should be counting my blessings, you know what I mean? Not like down. So I started searching for what, this praying and the Catholic and in the church and all that, it was not working. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? What's the I know there's more in there. That we're more than that we think we are. And so I started really wishing, or not wishing, but wanting to find answers. I didn't know anybody, like no Abraham Hicks, no Joe Dispenza, no nobody. And one time, my sister and I were walking on La Jolla here, San Diego, and this girl she was selling some beauty products. Asked my sister to go inside the store and to test some products. And my sister, yeah, sure. So I said to her, okay, go in. I'm gonna go for a walk. Then my sister went in then and she talked to this lady. This lady was into the law of attraction and Abraham Hicks, and she was really happy. She was very happy, and she gave my sister some information about Abraham Hicks. And then my sister came out and she goes, look, this lady talked to me about this Abraham Hicks person, and gave me this YouTube video to watch, and you should watch it because it's something that maybe something you've been looking for. And then I listened to it. I'm like,
Ah,
Yeah.
I love it.
and that was it. I was like, everything that I knew since a kid, it was reinforced on what she was saying or what they were saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know
Like,
exactly what you're saying.
it's like an awareness of like,
This
I
is
knew
what I've
that.
been looking for.
Yeah.
I feel it. I feel that. Yes, I knew that. I knew that. I don't know how to explain it, but I know that's the right thing. I know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Or you know what I mean?
I love watching you describe it because I know that
Yeah.
exact feeling, like what you're talking about. And I remember it clicking so clearly for me too. Like, this is what I've been looking for. Like, these answers feel right. Everything else had just felt like a cop out, or that's what you're supposed to say, or there's not enough information there. Sure, I guess like that's what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to believe. I just felt like I was kind of going through life like that. And then when I really stumbled upon consciousness, the path, it felt so right. And it was like, oh my God, this is the answer to everything, all of my questions.
Right.
Beautiful.
It feels it felt perfect. Like, and again, it's like an awareness. It's more of a feeling of like, yeah, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, it all makes sense. That's why I feel this way. That's why this happened. And so when I started learning, I went back into my career and I started going like moments by moments. Oh, that happened because of this.
Yeah.
So many amazing things happened to me in my career that was just like, for example, the time where I was I was watching TV in the morning and I saw this guy doing Tai Chi, on a TV show, and I'm like, I want to be on TV doing my dancing in the mornings. I
Yeah.
want to because I should be in there. This guy is doing his thing. I can do my thing. I call and I just had the impulse of calling the TV station, and I said I gave him my name and who I do what I do and everything, and they said, "Oh, you called the perfect time. We're planning to do a dance fitness show on TV."
What?
And I'm like, "Yeah." And so within maybe 2 weeks after that, I was doing a show on TV.
So
Yes,
ultimately, you're at the stage where, this is all starting to click.
yeah.
And
So
you're doing your show. You see somebody on television. You're like, I can do that. You call the or you call the TV station. You're like, hey, this is my background. This is who I am. I want
yeah,
to dance. And they go, perfect timing. We're doing a
perfect,
dance fitness show in 2 weeks. What are
perfect.
the chances of that?
It was like crazy, and the show not only became popular in Vancouver, Canada, all over Canada, but they sold the rights for the show, and they were watching in Europe, Italy, Greece, France, everything, and it was like this. I gotta tell you a story because it's really funny. So then I get emails from people from different countries in Europe saying I love your show and how can I get your video and your DVD back in the day, DVD and
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And I had produced my own DVD that I was selling online. I was selling through mailing people in my classes, and I would just sell a DVD and send it to Europe, you know, and to people that wanted to watch it and do it. But one couple calls, they actually called me, and they were clients from me from many years ago, and they said we were in vacation in Italy in our hotel having breakfast, and then you showed up on our TV, and it's like
That
I dropped my coffee,
that is so awesome. Oh my
and
God.
so it was such a good experience. It's like from an idea, from an impulse, an idea of like I want to be on that TV. I saw myself in the actual TV doing my show.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see the guy doing Tai Chi. It was me dancing.
Yeah.
Like a clear image, and it just boom, it happened. I got the impulse. I did it. Boom, 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 and it was just amazing.
Yeah, because like it sounds like when you go back to the story, like all these impulses you act on even early before finding out about law of attraction, they still worked out. But
Yes.
when you discovered this understanding and the Abraham Hicks thing happened not because like your understanding didn't happen because of Abraham Hicks, it already happened. Abraham Hicks was the permission slip.
Mhm.
Mm,
That's what's happening. So what it is you put the cart in front of the horse instead of the cart in front of the horse. So you actually
wow.
flip it around. So once the horse is leading, and that's what I want to really emphasis here, it's like whether things work out the way we think it should, we should always be happy, energy flowing through us. It's because
Mm,
when the show ended, I stopped my energy. Why? Because you had a belief that the energy can only flow on stage. Rock. That's why musicians do drugs and even though they have these tremendous careers, they never learn. They're always putting the cart in front of the horse because they think because I'm on stage in front of 50,000 people, that's why I'm happy. I'm like, no, happiness is something that isn't a causation from anything. There's no conditionality to it. So a lot of times in our lives, we don't even know it. We flip to it, and then someone like Abraham shows up to validate it. She didn't cause it, you did. And then
mm,
he just
She
Yes.
shined a big light
You
on it.
shine a big light on it. And that's kind of how these people coming out. So everything that's done to us is completely, completely internal. They're just a voice that you hear because you entered into that field, but you
Right.
entered into that field. Like the Rolling Stones can't kidnap me to put me in their concert. I have to go there. And once I'm there, I'm in the field of their music. And
Wow.
once you realize that we're control of our field of frequency, then all these things, whether you get the show or not, it shouldn't matter at all. And that's the understanding because people are still measuring the outside world on their success. I'm happy because of this, I'm happy because of this. I'm like, you're happy because of that. This transpired. I'm happy because of that. I met this person.
Mhm.
Not I met this person, therefore I'm happy. Now I have to keep that person in my life. And it's a
Wow.
That's where we're
small,
all stuck.
yeah, it's a small little entity of understanding, but it's huge when you shift it.
Mhm.
It's a 180 shift, and it's a
Yes.
turn.
It reminds me of that book called The World is a Mirror. And
Yeah,
it talks about the reflection.
yeah,
We all take this outside world to be so fixed, absolute, real. We're all experiencing this same exact world. Well, science has told us that's absolutely false. We're all living in our own essentially bubble, and yes, we're on the same field, but we're all having like the three of us, we can all walk into a party or a situation or a room, and we're all in that same space, but we're having three different experiences. That's what's so powerful. And so this reflection, you saw yourself on this TV. It had no choice but to be reflected back to you. And that's what's so cool is you were already in that state, in that field, when you were watching that yourself, envisioning yourself on that TV screen. And I like how you're telling this story because I did the exact same thing you did, Gustavo. When this clicked for me, when I had that aha light bulb moment, I went back and retraced my steps over the years prior, and growing
Yeah.
up, and, different things that I considered successes or positive moments or negative moments, all the above. And I was like, I could see how I generated them, how I created them, how I was in that field and in that space. And that's why that happened or didn't happen or whatever. But it's cool seeing you kind of reverse engineer it for the audience.
Yes. Wow. I know. It again. It's like a non-resistant feeling that that's when it works. Like what Frank is saying. You know, I went into the frequency, the right or the frequency that was always there. I tapped into it by my own desire of knowing more. I tapped into that nice flow of that river. I kind of went in there. I didn't have to
yeah,
search for it. I didn't like have to like, "Ugh," same thing that you were just saying, Mike. Like, it happened to you in a way, and also me when it was like, it was a very non-resistant feeling when I saw myself on that TV. It wasn't like sitting myself and concentrating and just, it wasn't, it was just so easy, but it was like like so fast, that really like it's happening or is already happened.
Well, and that's what I love about this experience and what I love about consciousness, law of attraction, law of assumption, all these different things is you don't have to know what you're doing to do it. We're doing this all the time. And that's what woke me up was this has always been going on. I just was calling some days luckier than the other, and
Yeah.
pretend that, was the
yeah.
case.
And that's it. The thing is, like you could have the energy flowing through at a high level, like in ecstasy, and some days you're going to win $1 million, and some days you're not. You might lose $1 million. So that because for people out there listening, because I remember going through this years ago when I would hear people in these success stories, and they were always outward successes, and then you're like, well, I'm not a doctor, I'm not this person, I've never been here. How do I achieve that? And what they very seldom talk about is the energy flow. Whether they made the $1 million or whether they got the TV show, whether they got it doesn't matter. And when you actually enter life that way, all of a sudden the paradox is things happen. But whether they happen or not, because everyone's looking for this grandiose thing to happen in the physical world, and that's the life of conditionality. And this is why anxiety, depression, all exists, because we have
Yes.
conditions. But When you go to an amusement park, the amusement park is already built. I had to get there. I had to get into the field of the amusement park, and I enjoy the ride. But can you imagine like a little kid saying, I think I can make that ride better. You know, I'm going to change it. Like, I don't want to go on that one. And all of a sudden, they start questioning everything. And the whole time I'm at the park, they're in a miserable state because they have conditions onto it. And I'm like, where did these conditions come from? You didn't build the park. You didn't raise the sun. You didn't create the frequency of the energy. We came here to experience it. And we get into the flow. All of a sudden, everything is there for us. Some days it's just kind of staring at a tree. Some days it's like
Mm-hmm.
up of a multi-million dollar business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Either way,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And when you get into a state of it doesn't matter because things don't matter. This is a physics statement. How I feel generates a physical matter attribute. Things can't, this cup can't produce another cup. But the energy that flows through human beings, we can actually take the elements from the earth and create this cup, you know, if we're drawn to it. So when we still think that things matter, I'm like, things can't matter because they're just things sitting there.
We give the meaning to it.
Yes, we give the meaning,
Mm-hmm.
we give the matter to it because this cup wasn't inherently here on the earth. Some human being had to conduct a bunch of experiments to get certain materials that they drew from the earth and the elements to do this. But nonetheless, this doesn't make us any happy. It just makes it more convenient to drink water or whatever it is to drink it.
Yep.
And that's the
Right.
essence of it. Like whether you become a superstar or no one ever noticed you, that energy should be always flowing through like a child. Because as children,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't know who was watching. We didn't know who liked me or who didn't like me, but we were excited. That's a childlike state. And in that, you have like at the end of the day, it's like, how was your day? My God, it was amazing. What'd you do? Climbed a tree, rode the bike, and meanwhile, it's like, you know, did you cure cancer? No. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, oh, I have to cure cancer and to be happy, and all of a sudden, that's the downfall of humanity and the leaving,
Right.
all the leaving the Garden of Eden
Mm-hmm.
because we
Right.
want some.
Conditions,
Yeah, we think
conditions,
we need more
conditions.
knowledge. I'm like, no, you are knowledge. We don't need it. We are it. You know, and then what we do is we add it to the world, but the experience in talking to you, you can see the energy. Like I can't explain it. Like, yeah, no one can. But the essence of you being happy and excited is going to get the next person listen to the show excited about life because that's the driving field,
They're going to say
not
something's here.
not the accolade.
Mm-hmm.
The accolade came after the excitement, not before. And you just
Mm-hmm.
keep driving, and you know, and then it's like when we got depressed or upset, it's like, what's going wrong? It's like, wow, well, I got, like you said, I was on this stage, I want to be on a bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't enjoying the moment in which you were in because we were trying to overstep it's like me trying to eat my breakfast but worrying about dinner. I'm like, I'm gonna get sick by doing that, and it's like, oh no, no. And it's a small little thing that a lot of people misunderstand, and it's crucial that hey, generate the excitement, do what you got to do to get the energy, and then whatever happens, happens.
Mm-hmm.
And but you can live an amazing life, just like when you were a child on your bike. The most amazing things happen without
Yeah.
any goal, but because we had the energy flowing. The reason we had the energy flowing, when we were children, is because we had very little resistance of understanding what should or should not happen. So why do we have that as adults? This should happen in order for me to be happy. And it's like, I have no idea. We have too much knowledge. Ah, let's get a little more wisdom than knowledge. It's
Yeah.
great. And
Wow.
wisdom is what replaces the child's ignorance in the adult is wisdom. And realize, yeah, I'm happy. Therefore, the TV show presented itself to me. I got into that field. Because if you're having a miserable day, because think about how many conversations or phone calls you didn't make prior to that. But it doesn't matter at that point. No, like, and that's because I say this because I don't want people to get caught up in because you're very, very successful in the worldly way, but your success is more in the energy flowing through you rather than the worldly way. I don't want people getting hooked on the worldly way. Like, how do we get to this place?
That will come.
So the question I have for you is like, what do you do or how do you allow yourself to get into that flow every day, regardless if you made that phone call or not? Because that's what really people like, they want to get down to the nitty gritty of this because they've been hearing successful people their whole lives. like Tony Robbins and all this stuff, and he's a millionaire. It's like, well, how do I get there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
Start.
what I hear a lot. I hear that is how to do it.
Yeah.
It's got this a lot of resistance. Is how do you become a millionaire? You know, these are the steps you gotta take. Um, you gotta get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you gotta, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you got,
we've all heard
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all these rules that will create resistance, I think. But
Yes.
when what you're saying is like, for example, that's something I've learned too, is like to appreciate each moment and to say thank you for each moment. Like to appreciate, like I'm appreciating a tree, and the bird that comes flying, and it just little things, little tiny things that it's like, wow, thank you for this, thank you for the opportunity to be here and experience the sun, or feeling the rain is nice and fresh, or whatever. Those moments, it's a
Mhm.
build up, right? It builds up the momentum, right? You know, and then it feels easier. Like I'm always asking for, show me the path of ease. You know what I mean? The path of least resistance. Because I don't want to go in the path of this, the harder, like,
Yeah.
I have this joke that I always kind of tell my students now. It's like I became a dancer because I don't want to work. you know, uh, I kind of say things like that sometimes. Say you do it because of the love and how it makes you feel. You know what I mean? And that's why I do it. I do it because it makes me feel good, and when I feel good, all my clients feel good. And it's like a whole collaboration. I'm not here to like, I'm the best dancer, and you gotta do this because you got, it's like
Yeah.
it's a collective of this grateful energy, you know what I mean? And so once once I started thinking that way, like I went back to a lot of times in my life where things just were amazing and I wasn't grateful, you know. And I actually had moments of saying, I apologize to source, apologize to me. I actually apologize to me, I'm like, I'm sorry, Gustavo, like, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, like I said, I'm sorry to myself
Yeah.
for because I've had a great life, and it continues in a different way now, and we're always gonna have challenges, always. Like, and then now what I'm saying is, what am I mastering here? What am I learning from this challenge? You know what I mean? Not like why me. I mean, of course, where our human ego gets in there, and then we're like, sometimes we do feel sorry for ourselves
Yep.
in
Yep.
different ways, right? But I go back to, it's like, what am I mastering? What am I learning? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because we're all master of our lives.
I love that you brought up gratitude because that is one of the quickest ways to get into that flow state that you're talking about. Forgiveness, gratitude, love, like these are all emotions, goals, feelings, etc. That like in Western society we don't prioritize. We act like,
No,
oh, those come after you've achieved something. We
nope,
put these on a pedestal and we're like, I haven't earned the right to have gratitude. I haven't earned the right to have happiness. I haven't earned the right for that's kind of what our culture teaches. Um, and again, it's putting the cart in front of the horse. We're saying, hey, I'll allow myself happiness. I'll allow myself those feelings of love and success, but I have to do A, B, and C first. And until I accomplish these, I'm not allowed to feel those. When in reality, you have to allow yourself to feel those in order to experience them more and more and more and grow in success and grow in love and all of this, experience that we're having. I think gratitude is one of the most direct ways to that because I love the examples you provided because w- often we mistake gratitude has to be like for something that this identity, ego, character needs or wants. That's the only things we can have gratitude for. And it's like, no, you can have gratitude for the way that the sun touches your skin. You can have gratitude for the smell of rain. You can have gratitude, all these little things that, evade us because we're not paying attention to them,
Yeah.
but they're like amazing, attributes of life. When you were saying that, it reminded me, I saw this thing the other like 2 or 3 days ago, and it was talking about somebody asked AI. They wrote into the chat box like, what would you like do or want to experience if you were a human, if you were conscious? It posed that question, and the answer that it spit out was like really beautiful. And I don't have it word for word, but I'm sure anybody could find this article online. But in summary, it was talking about these little moments, like what you're talking about. Like, and it even brought up what it feels like to cry and feel like this sense of like emotion, connectivity, like a relationship to something. When you're just knowledge based, you're just analytical, it's so cold and things are just right or wrong or this is the facts. There's no that in between, and it's that in between that makes us human. And so
Mm,
that what I thought of when you were sharing that, and I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
yeah, no,
And
it's amazing.
yeah,
Mm,
and those challenges you talk about, a lot of times people misread it. The challenge is in upgrading in the frequency in which you are. So it's kind of like if an airplane's taking off at the airport, you actually feel the G-force. Well, that's a good thing because it means you're going to the place in which you want to go. So a lot of times people misread that and they pull back. Hey, land this thing right now. I don't like this feel. This feels like we're going to crash. I'm like, no, it's called G-force. Once we get to the altitude or whatever, you're not going to feel it. So that's where people get stuck on. So challenges are always going to be there because the one inherent thing in all of life, not just humanity, is expansion. The universe wants to expand, and through expansion at elevation times, where we're stepping in, you're going to always have these levels of acclimation.
Yeah.
And if you understand that, I'm like, okay, something new is about to burst out. It's like the butterfly or the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. It's very painful. They got to push their way out, but once they do,
yeah, yeah.
violent act
Hmm.
pushing to, but
Wow.
you have to be on the way. So the because we could be analytical, and a lot of times the way we analyze things, it's backwards and thinking, oh, this challenge. I'm like,
Something's wrong. This is
God doesn't
I'm
want me to
feeling
be doing this.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, God doesn't want me doing this because I feel it. I'm like, no, you can't do that. You can't be like, because you have a bad feeling in your body that God wants me to steer it away. God doesn't steer you away from anything. It's just an energy moving forward. How you read it, that's up to you.
Mm,
That's a huge misunderstanding of people like, oh, God kept me from doing this. I'm like, don't blame God or your thoughts because your thoughts are like a culmination of all the stuff around you, either watching news, a TV show, your friends, and everything else. They're coming in. Let those pass on by. The human mind was made to look at something and then go with it. So when a thought comes in, don't think about it, respond to it, or don't respond to it. Simple. Either way. And then when you all of a sudden have these, talk about gratitude, also learn to be grateful for the failures more so. Why? Because they teach you something.
hmm.
People are only grateful for what they think the worldly possessions of which we're supposed to have. I'm like, well, now you're at a 50-50 chance, depending where you live. It could be a 30-70 chance.
Right.
Like gratitude should be something every day. Like I'm grateful I'm breathing, but I'm grateful I lost $1 million too. Like,
Yeah.
aren't you
What did it
grateful
show
for
me?
losing $1 million? Why is that bad? Like, yeah, it's a deconstructive place if you're trying to build, and we're always moving in that direction. But the people that are very, very wealthy lost way more than $1 million at some point in their life to get to the place they're at. So I'm just using that as an example because that's not the goal either. The goal is to not let anything bother you, but to look at everything as an advantage point of lifting you up the mountain rather than tripping down the mountain. So if you're falling, you're simply learning to fall forward rather.
Mm,
And it's all conceptual. Even the story I'm telling you, you don't have to buy into it. That's your own prerogative. But when we tilt in that direction, all of a sudden, every day is an amazing day, even if you sat there and stared at the wall or
wow.
won the lottery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what happens is when I can control my energy and emotions, I don't waste it. I won the lottery. Okay, good. All right. Now I can do more stuff. I can buy more stuff. Great. But that doesn't make me happy. It's just another experience, you know? So people are like, oh, you won lottery. What have you been doing before that? And I'm like, you know, I'm like, just because I meditate and pray doesn't mean that's the reason I won the lottery. It was probably formulated in my story, right? But if I get emotional and get so excited over it after a year, there's a lot of accounts of this. Within 6 years, most people that win the lottery, about 60% of them are broke already. So now they're in a
Yeah.
depressed state and they wish they never won the lottery because now they're in worse debt than they were because why? Because they weren't able to get in that much debt prior to winning the lottery.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's a conundrum, you know? But it's because they're looking at it from a one vantage place, good and bad, and there is no good and bad. There's greater than and less than, but those aren't bad and good. Those are just elevated frequencies.
Mhm.
And we start to look at this is actual physics.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
This is what helps people get along because that's the thing I want to really nail down for people. I'm like, you can be happy every second of the moment, even if a loved one dies. When they die, you're going to respond differently than if you're at Disneyland. That's for certain, right?
Mhm.
You
Of
still going to
course.
cry, but the understanding lining of peace and happiness is still there. You were happy that they were in your life. You were so happy that you're crying that they left it, rather than why is this happening? What did I do wrong? What did God do to me? I should have
Yep.
meditated. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no,
And that's the thing, that I realized, and that I when I once I changed and I learned all this, it was like I got the power back, you
yeah.
know. And I always knew I had the power as a kid, you know, but now I'm like, and I lost it,
You know
I
what it is?
lost it.
Yeah,
Got covered up.
you didn't really lose it. It's like if I put a blindfold on my eyes, I lose my sight. No, I just restricted the light from coming in to indicate what sight is. I'm like, so the second I pull the blindfold off, I've never lost it. I just, yeah,
Yeah,
You
we have
remembered it.
so much, we have so many
that's
people.
the right, exactly.
Yeah,
It's the right word. I remember it. And somebody said to me, one of my good friends, she's a personal coach as well. She said something so amazing that I'm like, oh my God. She said, I stopped learning and I started remembering,
yeah,
Yes.
you know?
Beautifully said.
because we are
And I
information.
was like, what? Like, you know, and
Very well.
I think happened to me is like I started remembering everything that I always been and
Yeah,
that all of us are, you
Yeah.
know,
And always have.
and always have been and always will be. And so that opened a whole like just crazy reality that is just so fun, you know, because we do have the power at every moment.
yeah,
We have the power of how we're gonna feel about everything at every moment, you know.
Moment.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just like a switch on the wall has the power to turn the light on. You just got to switch it in the right position.
I like to think of it like tuning on a radio station because that's it's something everybody can, relate to. Instead of saying, it like in a given situation, if we don't like that, we act like it's the end of the world, we can't change it, etc. I always remind myself, well, why don't I just tune the station? Why don't I change my frequency?
Yeah.
And then the outside world will begin to shift.
Yeah, but ask yourself, why don't you like that?
Yeah, right.
That's another thing. Like, why don't I like it? Doesn't
What
mean
is
you have
this
to
to
stay
teach me?
there. It doesn't mean you're like, hey, like I'm not learning to like that. But why don't I like that? It's because we have so many preferences, and because how many preferences can one have? Because the word preference is a limited aspect. So how many preferences food can have? You can only limit it. So now you're limited to these types of foods. Now you travel out of the country. It's like shit.
Hmm.
Because like, why not just loosen up the preferences? Why don't I like this? It's because my brain is saying, my mind is saying, based on beliefs, it's like, in order for me to be happy, this has to occur. I'm like, where'd you come up with that? That's a resistant. A belief is a resistant. A non-belief is a opening.
Yep.
So yeah, so when we let go of them, and the key is letting go of them. If you try to get rid of belief, that's just another belief fighting another belief. But when you let go of it, like, they don't go anywhere. Beliefs, they don't leave the universe, but I just don't need it. Just like I go to buffet, there's a bunch of food there, but I only go after the food that I'm curious about or something I like, whatever. But like I'm getting pulled to it. But if like, what, like, who would eat that? And you're like, hey, maitre d', come here. Can you please get rid of all the stuff that I don't really want? And it's like, no, you're a lunatic.
Telling the
Do that.
buffet to
Yeah,
remove the
like,
item.
I gotta do that.
We can't have these out.
And they're like, sir, why don't you go towards the food that will attract you? I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea.
It's kind of funny though. That is
Yeah.
what we do as a society. We're like yelling at like the buffet owner saying, "Get all these options out.
Yeah.
I don't like these." It's like, hey, you don't have to go for them. You don't have to
It's-
give so much attention to them.
And it's like, what do you like in the moment? Well, go for that. And then in the next moment, something else. And that's the beauty. And one day you might like this thing that you think is horrendous. And it's like, yeah. And that's what it is why don't I like this? It's because your frequency is out of tune.
Mhm.
You know, you could be listening to the greatest song that you've ever loved. And if you're switching stations, in other words, if you're on the road, I don't, this doesn't really happen anymore because it's satellite, but when I was a kid, you're driving, and the second you get away from the tower, it was like that. And you're still trying to listen to Stairway to Heaven or whatever. I'm like, God damn it.
You can
Like,
faintly hear it in the
And
background.
there's another song like bleeding into it.
Yep.
And it's,
Oh no, yeah, it's such annoying. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
but it wasn't the song's problem. It was the interference, and we interfere with every situation. So we are patterns and interference patterns. Are we collaborative or constructive or deconstructing what's happening to us? And we say I don't like it. You're deconstructing it. Why don't you like it? Because you're not in the flow. Like, yeah, we know it. Like, listen, you're a dancer, right?
Yeah,
You
you know
know when
flow.
you're out of flow, like at a dance. So what do?
Yeah.
You may like say you're in a choreographer type of setting, like you got 7 dancers, and you feel that you're slightly out of flow. You don't say stop, stop, stop because it's a live audience funny. You can stop yourself for a second and go 1, 2, boom, come back in, and nobody would know the difference. But in the end, like some of the dancers might notice, and you're like, but the audience didn't because you recovered because you got back into that rhythm. Because like if the wave is here and I'm here, it's like no, I want to go with it. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, and how do you do that? You got to let go. Let go, and all of a sudden, boom, you get naturally into it. You ever see that where they take like 100 metronomes?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You ever see that?
They put a
Yeah.
bunch of metronomes.
And they're all going different ways, and after a certain time,
Oh, and then they all kind of
they all
Link up.
connect.
go together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the field takes over. So when you're on stage with a bunch of dancers and your mind is trying to step out of the field, you go off, but just bring it back to the field and the other dancers will pull you back into it. Just like the other musicians, their counting will get me back into it. The field is the governing agency, not us. We know what it looks like. We know what it feels like. And that's like, oh, this feels right. Are you making a lot of money with that? I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with it? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
And
I'm like,
that's yeah,
that's what gets out of the field. Like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, but how much money are you making? Like,
exactly. I hear that all the time. Yeah.
Yep.
and all of a sudden you start to feel bad. But like, am I supposed to be making more money? Right? It's not weird. Like we do that. And it's like, but over time,
Yeah.
like,
Influence.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like that person like says something to you, you're all happy, and they imprint this. But we want to be these kind of like spiritual warriors to where that doesn't affect us because I don't want to worry about someone saying you should be making more money, you should be doing this. Like we get comments all the time, like more people should be watching the show. I'm like, well, thank you for watching the show. Like I don't
Exactly.
really count how many.
You know,
people-
exactly.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
me and Mike love talking about this. We love talking to guests such as you, and it's
Uh, you guys froze. Sorry. You guys have you're froze there.
Give me 1 second. We should kind of back on.
oh, you see something go.
Well, we see it. Give it 1 second. We only last.
There we go.
Did it say recording in progress?
Yeah, it's in progress. There we go.
Perfect.
Yep. Technical difficulties, but we're not gonna let
You
this
guys,
bother.
you guys went. You guys left me in the field. You went into the quantum
Yeah.
field.
Yeah, we're in a
Yep.
quantum field.
We'll jump right back into the flow.
Yeah, but that's the point is like the field is a governed agency, and like Mike said about the tuning of it, we can tune ourselves to a field, and like meditation, um, the understanding Sanskrit, it means becoming familiar with. When I become familiar with the flow, the energy running through me with no conditionality to it, I'm I'm doing well. Because if I put a condition that Sally must talk to me, when Sally does, my heart opens up. But when Sally ghosts me, right, all of a sudden I feel bad. It's like, what happened? Well, Sally ghosts me. I haven't heard from her. Like, oh, like I'm not going to let that stop me from my heart opening up. The
Exactly.
reason Sally ghosted you is because you're waiting for her to call you. Like that's
Yeah,
a burden on somebody. Like that. Like
wow.
you got
Yeah.
to make me your job on this planet is to make me happy. And I'm like, that's a lot of pressure for other people.
That is.
And that's
Yeah.
why things like that happen. Yeah.
And we can feel that resistance in
Oh yeah.
relationships all the time.
It's like desperation.
Yep.
And
Nobody
but
likes that. You can
yeah,
feel it in friends, loved one, or like a significant other relationship, all
yeah,
sorts of things. But you can tell when that needy, resistancy feeling exists.
yeah. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. It's because it's conditioned. We're supposed to be living, well, not supposed to be. You can live any way you want, but when you live the unconditional life, it's when we were children, we didn't have any conditions. Why? Because we didn't have enough to, it's like I tell the story about like when I was a child going out and playing and come home. And it's like, how was your day? It was great. And then it was asking me, well, what did you do? And I'm like, I don't know, climb the tree. So they're like, okay, maybe climbing a tree is why it was a good day. No, climbing a tree was just a part and parcel of it. Like your dancing is an expression of your love, not the dancing makes you like, I love dancing. No, love makes you dance.
Yeah.
Dancing doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
you love.
Mm-hmm.
That little thing. It's your
Yeah.
expression of love is why you dance. Your expression of me is why yeah, here we go. Hit the mic.
Exactly. But I get what you're
And
saying.
every moment I'm expressing it, my love in ways outside of me. But if I say I love doing a podcast, no, my love allows the podcast to come through. It's a small little understanding. And so
Very small change. Yeah.
how do we remain in that field of love? One is don't leave.
Hmm.
Don't let people pull you out. But when they do, ask yourself, why is somebody's comment to me upsetting? And I tell this to Mike all the time. I look at it as a challenge
Mm.
because everyone's trying to get to the place that I only want to hang out with nice people. Like I don't even, I really don't know what that means, but I don't want to be bothered by a certain amount of people saying stuff. I'm like, well, good luck with that because they're going to be all over your ass. They're going to be everywhere. Why?
Right.
That they attract to that. But when
Yep.
you don't get bothered, like people are like, does that person bother you? I'm like, not at all. I understand their character trait. I understand what's going on, but I don't let it bother me. I'm aware of what's going on. I'm not oblivious.
Mm.
That's the brilliance of this understanding of this deeper level of this spirituality. Is
Mm-hmm. Wow.
yeah.
I want to ask you something, Gustavo. What have you seen in your life change since you found yourself on the path?
Other than you smiling all the time.
Yeah, right. But since, unearthing and discovering, these different laws of the universe that we're discussing right now. And, I'm sure Abraham Hicks is somebody you brought up. And that, of course, snowballed and led you to Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I'm sure multiple other different great teachers, lecturers, people out there, these individuals that are leading and living this way. To share with our audience some things that, you know, you noticed.
Wow. Yes. Well, no, one thing for sure notice is every person that I've listened to, um, it all comes down to the same message in different ways of they say it, they explain it different ways, and it's all magnificent, the same message,
Yeah.
and that it makes again so much sense inside my cells. You know what I mean? Like I have no doubt of like before when I was a kid, you have doubts of all the stuff that people tell you, and when you're growing up, you have a lot of resistance about all everything. Not, but this time it's an awareness. It's like a feeling of this is the right thing because it feels good.
Yeah.
in my cells. And so that's one thing for sure that I've noticed. Also,
Are you listening to that now more? Like are you saying that you use your intuition and decision making and next steps and things like that? Now hey, I'm gonna have a certain feeling.
yes. So
Beautiful.
now is I'm going by, first of all, again, like Frank is saying, it's about being grateful and everything. And so I'm always when I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, I kind of feel like I need to just sit and breathe,
Mhm.
and it just ask for guidance or ask just for an impulse. And if I don't feel that, I'm not gonna force anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do totally something different that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Go for a swim, go hike, go whatever.
Mhm.
Watch a movie or something that it takes me away from, because in the past I would be forcing it, trying to figure out how am I gonna do this, or I need to get this done. Now it's like, I want it. Why do I want it? Right? Why do
Mm-hmm.
I want this thing? You know, for example, why do I want it to do the podcast? Not because it's not gonna like make me millions. A podcast is a way of me sharing and the inspiration, to inspire people, you know, and that's enough. Like
Yeah.
I want to inspire. I want to be involved in this amazing journey, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, and so that's something else too. I've learned is like, yeah, breathe, take time, you know, meditate, listen to something inspiring, and get away from wanting to create something, you
Yeah.
know. And something too I've learned too is to detach and to let go, because that's the hardest thing it's been for me. Even though I've been detaching and letting go a lot of times when I moved a lot in different cities from different not even cities, but countries, like
Yeah.
learning a language and like a new language in different countries, and like I have so many friends everywhere. See, now I consider you guys my friends.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Like
Your
like
family.
yeah, it's like I'm serious. Like I feel like, wow, these guys are so cool there, and I feel like this is a new journey now because I took a leap, right? And I decided to go with my feeling, with my desires of doing a podcast, asking, seeing your podcast, getting in with you guys, and saying to Frank or Mike, I said, "Hey, I love to interview one of you guys." Boom, Frank answered. It's all flowing really nice. Here I am with you guys talking, right? And we're
Absolutely.
creating, and we
All
are creating, we're creating something new now. We're
Yeah.
collaborating, creating something new now with somebody else is listening.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah. And like, I like how you phrase that. Like, why do I want to do this? It's almost like it's not that you want to do it. You pulled so much you can't stop doing it. There's a
Right.
difference. Because like when you made that phone call to get on that TV show, you didn't want it. You just pick up the phone. You were drawn to it, and there's a constructive pattern there, and that's what's like. So people, I tell people stop wanting because we don't know what we want. People tell us what we want, but once the energy flows, you can't help to dance or go and have a conversation, start a podcast. You move towards it. It's like yeah, like you didn't ask for your parents to move you to San Francisco, but it worked out. You didn't ask your parents to move to Calgary, but it worked out. And even like even now I'm an adult, I'm like, well, you're still pulled by the same field that your mom and dad were pulled by.
Mhm.
It's this field and it's just amazing. So it's like we relax on the want thing. It's like, well, I'm drawn to this. I can't help it. Just like the river. Like,
Hmm.
my will, but thy will be done. And it's not like a sacrifice there. It's a brilliant thing, and that's
Yes.
the beauty of it. It's a gift. Like, life isn't happening to us. It's happening for us.
Mhm.
For us, yes. And again, letting go of the outcome, like that's something it's being hard for me to learn. And through all this learning, all this studying that I've done, and reading and absorbing that I've done, is like, yeah, letting go. It's hard for a lot of people. It's hard, the letting go, detaching. That's been my challenge, and I think I've learned to understand it and to be at ease with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, because like what something too is like life is constant changing, right?
Yeah.
You know, and we all are this, we're energy. We continue to expand. And so detaching from the identity, that's the hardest thing for a performer. Identity, like I am a dancer, I'm a choreographer. Like I always rely on that,
Yeah.
you know. And no, it's like I'm enough without the title. I'm
Yeah.
I'm good enough without the title. I'm energy. And that is something that is it's taking me a while to really understand it. And but once I understand, it's like wow, this is amazing.
I love that
Because
you said that.
yeah.
Yeah. Think of it like an actor isn't the character they're playing, it's just something they're drawn to. The actors
Exactly.
themselves. So it doesn't mean you don't dance, but that who you are isn't the dancer. You're the observer of the person dancing.
Yes, it's
So
exactly.
beat yourself back. And that's why, in the understanding of what they call non duality, there isn't an up or down. There just is. In the physical world we're experiencing, there is up and down, right, left, all these things. But that's just a play of experiential aspect. It's not personal. Just like if I said Forrest Gump was an idiot, I don't think Tom Hanks would take that personally.
Hmm.
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
and that's the brilliance. So we are, yes, a construct of our egos are there for a reason, for the experience, but that's not who we are. And that's what we have to remind ourselves. Who we are is the witnesser of that. Like the thing that was watching you at 14 leaving El Salvador is looking at Mike and I through the lenses. Well, the 14-year-old body of you is no longer here,
Mhm.
but the
Hmm.
witnesser is still here, watching all the different experience you had. And the witness can't say one was better than the other. It's like, no, it's not. But why do we do that? Because we got a charge out of it or whatever it is. It's like, oh, now I can understand that. Then everything,
And exactly. It's like when I let go of my ego. Like for example, when I was into my ego, doing my shows and all everything I was doing, I was like, I would get depressed because my ego would want something more. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
Always does.
But then when I would let go of my ego and I would concentrate on the love of what I was doing, it will reach out to a lot of people, and
yeah,
people will come to me and say, "You've changed my life." And those moments, it's like because I let go of the ego,
yeah,
you know, and the ego will come back and say all this crazy stuff and make me feel, like.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
But myself, like Fran said, it's like I'm not my ego, so I'm actually looking down at myself,
yeah.
right? You know, and you kind of laughing at yourself, going, "What in the world? What the hell is wrong with you?"
Yes. I
Right?
love that. You're so
But
right.
And
that's one.
so
Yeah,
so something else I've learned too is like to like move back a bit and say, "Hey, wake up, listen up. What are you doing?" You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
and also like, you're awesome. Like, you're better than you think you are. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself, like I'm
yeah,
crazy, but
No,
I'm
no.
talking. Yeah, I'm talking to myself and go, and also I'm saying is like, thank you for my legs, thank you for my talent, thank you for all this stuff, thank you for I chose a good body to do everything that I've done. So I'm kind of going back and being thankful and grateful for the body. So you know what I mean, I'm separated.
yeah,
Like I feel the separation of like my inner being is who I am. Like this is
yeah,
just a shell.
yeah,
Before I had no idea, I was caught up in all me.
yeah,
So
Yes. You
so
just described that like so perfectly for
yeah,
the audience, Gustavo. That was seriously so awesome. I
awesome.
love how you like shared that and the detaching from the character, the ego identity, this small little self, and stepping into your true capital L, capital S self, the higher self, the observer, witnessing what's going on. One thing that you said that I remember feeling, but that helped me, kind of go through this. It's so funny. So you said like I felt like I was going crazy because I was saying positive things about my character. And what's so funny is this world and this culture that we grow up in. We never think it's crazy to talk down about ourselves, say, I'm not good enough, I could be doing better. All these weird things that we're taught through music, media, television show, movies, all this stuff. But in reality, it's not crazy. It's crazy the way we're living. And the fact that
Right.
we're always telling our being, you're not good enough. You can't celebrate. You're undeserving. You need to do this before you can be happy. That's the crazy shit. That's what we should be going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been saying this. In reality, we're going, when we start talking about self-love and prioritizing, love in the self, we're like, oh, I felt like I was going crazy because I finally started saying good things to myself.
Yeah.
It's
I know.
nuts the world we live in.
I know. We're so programmed,
We are.
for
We are.
to think that all this is crazy. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
I mean, they even has a name like New Age. I'm like, what's
Oh
New
yeah.
Age?
New age.
What
Yeah, this
what
has
it,
been around forever. Get out of
I
here.
know. I exactly. It's like ever and
Yep.
ever. And so I know. You still you we're learning all the time. For example, myself, I'm always learning. It's like, yeah, like I just said, I feel like I was crazy doing what is supposed to be the truth. I feel crazy. It's like, come on, what's going on?
Yes. Yes.
I was actually I was going crazy before. It's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Believing in everything I was believing or doing, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely. We truly, by definition, live insane lives. Frank and I always talk about that. Like, we all know the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So
Yeah.
why Western culture are we living these insane lives? We are literally living insane lives. We're doing the same things, having the same poor self-talk, and expecting things to change by taking this medication or doing this activity. We're not changing anything within. And so,
No.
yeah, we truly live insane lives.
But you can see we're on the precipice. The fact that you and
Yeah,
I and Mike are all
are
sitting there
having it.
talking about this, it shows it's here.
Yep.
It's not almost here. It's literally here. But the choice of living the insane life will never be eliminated, and that's the brilliance of the freedom of the world we live in. So when we look at this, I'm like, we're offering up a new alternative of way of looking at life, not eliminating the old way of living, because that's what starts wars. And that's the brilliance of it. We're here talking about a new way of looking at life because people are tired of the old way. And the reason they're tired of the old way, they've been going around the circle.
They know it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It
Or
doesn't work.
yeah,
Nope.
it's and also it was just an experience. Like you go through life. When I studied history, all these experiences were just mere experiences. Are we done with this cycle? Yeah. Why? Because
Yeah.
we've done it so many times. I won't even say it was wrong. It's just we're done with it. And that, it's like when you found out you're being lied to and you found out the truth. To me, I always laugh. I'm like, oh my God, you almost got me. You almost got me on that one. I knew something was going on.
You got me for
Got me.
years.
Damn it. Right.
For
But
years.
instead of me, I get upset. I get laughing because I knew this can't be true. This can't be true. This can't be true. And
Yeah. Yeah.
ah, but
I
because
knew that too.
yeah, because I was being so-called lied to,
Mhm.
I have a greater appreciation for it. So I thank all those people that were messing with me.
Yep.
I love the fact that they were messing with me.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm stronger now. I'm like, good luck selling me a bridge now, buddy.
Yep. Yeah.
I have too many bridges in my backyard.
Selling you, what is it? Selling you ice to an Eskimo or whatever.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore to me because I bought all the stock.
Yep. It
Wow. Yeah.
it's very cool watching these topics now become normal
Yeah.
conversation in like what you're talking about, Frank, and
Yeah, and even
Gustavo mentioned
even
this
thinking
too.
about this conversation right here, we had no
It-
former understanding what we were even going to talk about. It wasn't like we're at some desk at CNN, like, okay, every 15 minutes talk about this and go that. I'm like, no, we went on air and like we started talking and we got to know you.
Mhm.
And you found your way to us, we found our way to you, and here we are
Yeah.
talking about this thing that maybe like 40 years ago all of us sitting here didn't know existed. We
The
knew it existed.
undescribable. Yeah.
Yeah, we knew it existed at some level, but we couldn't get it out. Now it's like, oh man, we've been hoodwinked. You
Yep.
know,
It it
now it's
it's
like,
so
oh,
yeah, it is so refreshing,
yeah,
to actually talk about this stuff, um, instead of getting involved in all the conversation that doesn't serve us. You know
yeah,
what I mean? There's
That's what we
so much.
want. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and one thing you asked me, Mike, what something that happened that I changed in me.
Yes.
And Abraham Hicks says something that made me laugh one time. She goes, I'm a vibrational snob.
Yeah.
You
Like
truly.
she said that she became Esther Hicks, who
Mhm.
channels Abraham, right?
Yeah.
She became a vibrational snob, and I'm like, that's so funny because I felt the same. I wanted to just talk to like guys like you. You know what I mean? Like
I know exactly.
everybody else, get the hell out of my sight. Like I don't
I know.
want to talk to you guys about
I
politics, about what's going wrong, about this, about that, the criticism. I want to talk to like this good stuff
I
all the
know
time.
exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying. Like, I can't go to sit down and talk about how shitty work was or how much I hate my boss and sit at the bar and drink and talk politics as if that affects my life. Like, it's the craziest
Yeah.
thing.
It's like
Like, it's that low vibration.
yeah, it's like coming back
Yeah,
to tic-tac-toe after you've been playing chess.
Yep. Perfect.
You'll never win
Perfectly
that
said.
game. It can't win the game of tic-tac-toe.
Hmm.
And that's why I don't
oh,
play the
yeah,
game. Like, actually,
right.
yeah, I brought that up to somebody and like, I can win a tic-tac-toe. I'm like, no, you can't. And this is a full-grown adult.
You're like, dude,
So
there's
I,
like
wa- I was,
three
That's funny.
moves.
I was
I
in the
can win.
back.
I can win.
Yeah, so I pulled up a whiteboard and I put it on there and we went like, I'm like, do we have to keep going?
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Like I'm like, yeah,
you
because I'm
can't.
I'm not trying to win. So wherever you put an X, I'm going to put an O.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to win. I'm just going to show you can't win this game.
Yep.
Like I have to be really distracted to someone beat me at tic-tac-toe. Why are we playing this game?
That's fun. Yeah,
We're still trying to win a game that can't be won. It's a zero sum result. You
It's
can't.
it's just through habit and pattern.
Yeah.
It's just conditioning
Which,
that's
yeah,
led to this.
people think like I can win this. I'm like, no, you can't.
But I just love how you brought that up, Gustavo, because I know what you mean. It's just like you protect your energy a different way when you understand how this field works. You're like, why would I ever get down? I like to call it getting in the mud. I'm not going to go get in the mud with you, and have and fight in
Yeah.
this low vibrational field about right, wrong, black, white, all this, nonsense. It's like, hey, we can elevate. Let's bring it up to
Yeah.
here. And it's nice having these conversations with a gentleman like yourself and Frank, where we can have this high level conversation about, focusing our energy, our intent where we want to go, not on these made believe, made up ideas that the society says this is the box you must live in.
Yeah.
I know. And one thing I kind of also learned to say is when I'm in a conversation that I don't want to be um, in, I
Yeah.
say, I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
Like that's a good word, man. I didn't know I could say that before because I thought it meant like I understand your point of view and you're correct or whatever. Like I understand the fee. No, it's like I understand it's very neutral, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand. And then people like it. People like
Yeah.
it. And I
Totally right. That
Yeah.
is a
Yeah. I
way.
understand.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. But that's a perfect way to describe it because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And you do. You're neutralizing the situation. Look, I get it. From your level, from that perspective, that's how you feel, and I'm not taking it away from you. I'm not judging you, and you're allowed to feel that. I'm just telling you there's another perspective. There's another way to look at this
And
that feels a lot better.
it's never ending. That's the climb. It's like never pretend that I know enough to know what's going on. I don't.
Yep.
And that allows me to let go of what I think I know.
Hmm.
But if I know something, I have to hold on to it. That's the tether that's keeping me from growing,
Yeah.
from expanding into a new experience. And that's all it
and
is. Yeah.
it's amazing because it's like you said around the money, like, and what we're talking about here is like I know it. We know I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know it. Like it's just an unknowing. That a lot of the teachers that I hear is like it's a knowing.
Yeah.
You're
And
right.
it's it. That's it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to explain it, but it's just a knowing.
Yeah. You can't explain how pizza tastes to someone who's never eaten pizza.
Yep.
But once they eat it, I'm like, huh?
Great,
You
right?
know?
That's exactly it. See, it feels
Yeah.
great when we let go and we shed these
As long
old
as you have
ideas.
like allergies to celiac or whatever, like it's like, but you can't explain it. But you know what?
That's what we like to do.
We're trying to
Explain
get
the
as
unexplainable.
close as we can to where the rest has to be taken over by the listener, and they have to let go and drop in. So
That's exactly
they have
it.
to go into the flow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you gotta stay into the flow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, all my life I've been on the flow, but now I appreciate it. You know, I understand it. Um, so it's
So
a different. Uh-huh.
how the listeners that are listening, how can they find you? Or like where are you at right now?
Yeah.
Like
To get,
yeah,
let's,
what all you do? Like obviously you got the podcast. Are you still doing performances and dance and stuff?
Yeah, so basically, well, I do have a website. It's GustavoFerman.com,
perfect.
where I actually, if you want to learn to dance, I have a online dance program there.
Okay.
Nice.
And you can take the classes. They're 20 minutes, half an hour little videos where you can do at home and really find like my trademark Latin funk dance, and also another trademark is called Groove Zone, which is very kind of more like funkier hip hop styles and then Latin styles. So you can learn to dance, have fun, exercise at home. That's something you can do. In my website, you can find that at GustavoFerman.com. And then I'm on all different social media like Instagram and Facebook. Gustavo Ferman, Gustavo.Ferman on Instagram,
Okay.
and Gustavo Ferman Facebook, TikTok,
Yes.
Uh,
LinkedIn, all that stuff.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, and my podcast, Into the Flow,
Yeah.
with Gustavo Ferman, is on Spotify, and then my YouTube channel as well, Gustavo Ferman. So I'm out there, man, in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
We're
out.
We're
we're
gonna
doing
put
it.
we're
Yeah.
gonna put links to everywhere in the description of this show. So anybody listening, you can jump right in. You can find Gustavo. You can follow him on his different social media sites, and really check out his show Into the Flow. He had both Frank Daly and myself on his podcast. We'll be going back for round two, and it has been such a pleasure
Yeah.
having you with us today, Gustavo. I hope you're having fun with the tables have changed. Now we
Oh,
have the pleasure of interviewing you, which has been an
so good.
amazing experience.
It is another manifestation, and it's amazing. Like,
Love it.
I'm so appreciative of you guys. You have no idea how much I appreciate and have for you guys.
It's
And
mutual.
thank you for your show and amazing things you're doing for humanity.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank you so
brother.
much,
Yeah.
Gustavo. That means the
All
world.
right.
We'll be having you back on the show. I know
Woo!
it. I can't
Yeah.
wait to get back on to
So
Into the Flow with you. So we're going to see you
so
guys soon.
what? Before we go, I
Please.
want you guys to raise your arms and wave it.
Flow feeling
Raise your
good.
arm like you just don't care. Woo!
I love it, Gustavo. Thank you
There
so
you
much
go.
for this
All right,
experience.
guys. Thank you so
Thanks.
much. See ya.
We'll
You
see
got
you
it.
soon.
Be
All
well.
right. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Gustavo.